Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence just had their press conference, and I thought it was great. Great production by Fox, great professionalism by everyone involved. So in the beginning, you had Sean Porter and Keith Thurman giving their breakdowns from the fight. Obviously, Keith Thurman had, having fought Manny Pacquiao, that going to a 12-round decision. Sean Porter fighting Errol Spence, that going to a 12-round decision. So the two of them have very unique perspectives because Sean, was in the ring with Errol. Keith was in the ring with Manny, and they were both really good fights. And it was a phenomenal production by Fox Sports. And even though Fury Wilder 3 got pushed back to the fall, it's, there's a silver lining to it in the sense that Pacquiao Spence now is able to take over the summer and take over all the attention in terms of upcoming fights for this summer, because that is a mega fight. You have the legend versus the young lion who is just walking through everybody, and we don't know what we're gonna get. That's what makes boxing. That's what makes this fight so attractive. That's why, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are going to buy this on pay-per-view. That's why tens of thousands of people are going to show up in person to watch this fight go down in Vegas, is because of who they are. Because Manny always comes to fight, Errol always comes to fight. And it's funny, they were both, they're soft-spoken people anyway. And in the press conference, it was no different. I'm not going to play the sound because, again, I don't want to get flagged. I might get flagged just for putting this up. Look at this dude, man. If you don't love watching Errol Spence fight, I mean, man, you don't even got to be that much of a boxing fan to love watching this dude fight. Whew. I remember that left hook. I tell you what, one thing that I am a little concerned about is, I know it's in the past and he looked good in his fight against Danny Garcia, but I don't know how many more fights Errol needs to have after that car accident. Just being realistic, man. He got ejected from the vehicle. he got ejected from the vehicle, and he got some of his teeth knocked out that had to be replaced. And, the car flipped. It was a sports car. I can't remember if it was a Ferrari, but, he was going, I think, over 100 miles an hour and gets ejected from the vehicle and looks really, bad in the hospital. Let me pull that up for you guys. But, like, the dude this is what he was recovering from. Like, man, just look at the vehicle. Look at this, man. This is what the car was after Errol Spence's accident, and that was his face and whatnot. He looks light years better now than he did during that, when they took those photos and stuff. But I'm still a little, wary and concerned, because I don't want, just out of concern for him. I love Errol Spence as a fighter, and I think he's a real stand-up guy. I think more people should be like him, but I'm just concerned for his health. And obviously his voice and the way he speaks changed ever since that accident, but sometimes it sounds like, he, like, the slur is starting to come in his speech. And if you're a boxing fan, you know what that means. And so I'm just concerned for him. So I'm hoping that he continues to work on his defense. He has a good defense. I want to see him take it to a great defense, because I just don't want to see him get hurt, especially after what he had going on. But he came out in the suit. Both fighters came out, with the full swagged out with their suits. And this dude they both look in shape right now, man. They both look like they're taking this fight very seriously, which is what you love to see, because you want to know that the two fighters are professionals. So they both look in shape, and They're not doing any smack talk to each other. They have not talked trash to each other at all. And so it makes you more excited for the fight because it's like they do their talking with their hands. They don't need to go crazy to sell the fight. It's gonna sell itself. Look at this man. Look at this grown man Pacquiao. This dude, him catching Floyd with the left. This Brandon Rios. This is him fighting Thurman and Broner. The blazing fast hands. We're gonna see how Errol responds to the flurries because we know Pacquiao tends to throw 6 to 12 punches at a time. And who really has the kind of defense that can stand up to that, you know? So we're gonna look at this dude, 42 years old. Look at that physique. This dude is still a monster. Nothing to be played with. Coming out calm. That's the worst kind of opponent when somebody is just calm. Like, it's like, oh man, this dude has been here plenty of times before. And they just came out full suit, which goes to show you, yo, I'm going to be a professional. When it's time to fight, we're going to fight. But this is a phenomenal press conference. Y'all remember Pacquiao was, he said that the host, I think that's Heidi Androl, the host asked, is there anything that Floyd can teach Errol? And Manny was like, nah, but Errol could teach Floyd how to fight toe to toe. And I was like, yo, this dude is still throwing shots, man. So I thought that was really funny. But press conference definitely got me hyped for the fight. And yeah, these two monsters are gonna go at it, man. Beautiful right hook. I'm curious to see how Pacquiao's going to deal, obviously, with Errol's body shots. I'm curious how Errol is going to deal with Manny's body shots because Manny throws pretty good body shots. He hurt Lucas Matisse and he hurt Keith Thurman with body shots. So I don't want to play around and act like Manny, can't throw shots to the body. He absolutely can. I'm curious to see how Errol is going to react to Manny's lightning left hand. And I'm very curious to see how Manny is going to react to, how Errol is going to react to Manny's footwork in terms of Manny's ability to just get in and out. His ability, like he's always on his toes. He's always bouncing in and out of position. But we've seen him do it really effectively against right-handed fighters. Against orthodox right-handed fighters. And Manny being, a southpaw, which if you're new to boxing, that being he's a lefty. But those angles are, really pronounced when it's a righty versus a lefty. But when you are fighting someone that's in the same stance if you're both, left-handed and you're fighting in a left-handed stance and that person is changing angles, you can pivot and turn and change, angles with them. And so we'll see if the fact that Errol is a southpaw, the fact that Errol has a really long jab and a snapping, beautiful jab, a long reach, he's a great boxer, puncher. We're going to see if that can negate Pacquiao's footwork. Because I think there's a really good chance that it does. What's Manny really going to do to take Errol's jab away from him? Obviously Manny has that great backhand, that cross, that left hand. And so he can do a couple counters with Errol's jab, but I just think Errol is smarter than that. I don't think Errol, because he's a very aggressive fighter, a lot of people don't give him credit for his mentality, his boxing IQ. He's very cerebral and he makes a lot of adjustments in the ring. So is Pacquiao going to be able, is Pacquiao going to be able to, to really use the tactics that he's been using for years? Are they going to work the same on Errol Spence? What about Errol Spence's tactics and, the fact that he's a vicious body puncher and he likes to, continue to wear opponents down? Is that going to work the same on a legend who's been fighting for 30 years in Pacquiao, 8th division world champion? They both have phenomenal stamina, but we have seen Pacquiao fade down the stretch. We've seen Errol get tired a couple times, but Errol, we've seen him close the show a lot of times, come on stronger in the second half of the fight, just like he did with Kell Brook. He was losing that fight. He comes on stronger in the second half. You look at his fight with Sean Porter. Errol comes on strong in the second half. Once he sees what your game plan is, him and Derek James, their ability to adjust on the fly is something that I think is going to make a big difference. And that's I do think Errol Spence is going to win this fight. I don't know yet that I see him stopping Pacquiao. He would have to put a serious hurting on Pacquiao. I think he would have to come on strong in one of those late to middle rounds, maybe round 8, 9, 10, one of those 3 rounds. Errol coming on stronger and beginning to pour on those body shots and beginning to wear down Pacquiao's guard. Because Pacquiao, we see him do a lot of slips and we see him go into high guard, but Errol loves when you go into high guard. Errol will break your high guard down because you go into high guard, he's gonna start pounding away at your rib cage. You drop your hands, even if your hands are up, he punches through the guard. It don't matter if your hands are up. He's okay hitting you right on that forearm because it's still gonna break you down, and we've seen him do that a lot. So is Pacquiao gonna be able to keep this fight in the center of the ring? If Pacquiao's pushed back, Pacquiao's not winning this fight because Errol is very content with hitting you on the ropes. You could stay there all day and he's just gonna wail. He's gonna let go of his hands. Errol's not that fighter that holds his punches back and keeps the gun in a holster. No, he's gonna fire. And so if I see Errol beating Manny, which I do, I see it. If he were to stop him, it would be in like round, I think 8, 9, 10. I realistically see him beating Pacquiao by decision, but I think, yeah, again, if he doesn't knock him out in 8, 9, 10, I think Errol beats him up in 8, 9, and 10. And then I think if Pacquiao has a shot at winning, it's going to be because of his footwork. He was doing beautiful counters. Errol wasn't able to adjust to the speed of Manny. But I just don't see that happening. I think Errol can adjust to the speed. I think Errol has the reach to keep Pacquiao at the end of that stick. And Errol he doesn't mind fighting in close. Errol is a much better inside fighter than Manny is. So I think that Errol has the edge in this fight.